The Vision High School Sports Beat is brought to you by the 11 locally owned Vision Automotive Group dealerships, offering Buick GMC, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Hyundai, Kia, and Nissan, and the resale division, with locations in Webster, Henrietta, Penfield, Fairport, Canandaigua, Ontario, and Palmyra, and online at visionauto.com. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Bill Pucko. We are on location this week from Vision Hyundai in Webster for a look at the best of the just completed fall season. We'll start, as we do every week, with a comprehensive look at sports in Section 5 in Monroe County with our honor roll of the top 3 football teams from this fall. At number 3, the Bishop Kearney Kings. Bumped up from Class D to Class C this year, Kearney still managed to play undefeated football all the way to the state semifinals. At number 2, Greece Athena football, a sectional champion for the first time since 1981. That wasn't enough for this bunch, which played all the way to the state championship game in Class A, losing by just 8 points to Somers. And at number 1, the unassuming Victor Blue Devils, who lost to the Class AA championship game by a single point, going for 2 against Troy with 5 minutes left and coming up just short. Which brings us to Penfield, whose football sidelines lacked one traditional element: cheerleaders, who for the Patriots now perform exclusively off the sidelines. This is the traditional approach to high school cheerleading. Victor cheerleaders working the crowd at a football game. But this is something that you won't see in Penfield.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Penfield Patriots, the team you hear, taking the title year after year.
For the past 5 years, Penfield cheerleaders have been strictly a tournament team. They compete as a group over the fall and the winter seasons in competition. You won't find them on the sidelines at games.
It's really not anything different. We are a sport just like anybody else is a sport. They practice on their own, they compete for themselves, and that's what we do. We compete for ourselves and we practice for ourselves.
But it's so funny, it kind of seems a little bit out there because cheerleading has traditionally been cheerleading, and this is something different.
Yeah, it's traditionally been cheerleading, but that's, it's evolving. It's moving into something that's really new and exciting, and there's a lot of changes. These are athletes. They work really, really hard at practice. They work hard outside of practice, and they put in the same hours as any other team does, so they should be treated as athletes.
Except that it is different. Penfield is the only team that approaches cheerleading this way, and it is paying some dividends. The state now recognizes cheerleading as a sport and held the first state championship competition last winter. The Patriots won their class. They practice at the Gymnastics Academy in East Rochester, a bustling little enterprise that actually has a specific area set aside for cheerleaders. Penfield's routine is challenging.
It's very difficult, especially if you're like a tumbler, and then I back spot, and then I jump and cheer and dance and everything. It's just, I don't know, each dimension is like hard in its own way, and it's exhausting.
Still, it's the uniqueness of the approach that is interesting here. This group was raised traditionally by cheering on the sidelines. That part is gone, and it's a trend that could catch on.
I do love it this way because I get to see the girls just in a practice mode. We're able to perfect our routine, so we know going out at sectionals, states, counties, everything, that we're really confident in what we do.
You think you're better as a result?
I think so. It gives us more time to be in the gym working on a routine on the mats rather than out in the field.
Do you think as a result of the practice and the fact that you're not doing that, maybe investing a little more time in the routine, that you're better off?
I definitely think so. We have more time to work on our competition routine rather than game stuff that we don't use at competition, so we definitely benefit from it. We have more time.
Okay. Do you like the fact that you're different? I mean, this is the one school that says, we don't do this. It's different.
Yeah, it's definitely different, but we definitely get asked a lot of questions about it, but I think it just benefits us, so if we're the first team doing it and it helps us, It's okay.
You think it's an idea that'll catch on?
I think so, maybe. I mean, now that we're actually a sport, I think that necessarily cheering for a sport is different if you're a sport also.
Do you miss not cheering for a football crowd or at basketball games?
I mean, sure, but not really at the same time. Like, cheerleading's my sport, and this is where I want to be at all times. I'm still at almost every single football game cheering them on with my friends in the stands.
Oh, cool. So, but if it's just tournaments and stuff, that's okay with you?
Yes, absolutely. Competitive cheerleading is what we've been fighting for almost 10 years now, and now that we finally got it, I could not be happier.
When we return, Dan Glover from Spencerport Wrestling is in the Dunkin' Donuts Coach's Corner and later leading the way back for Fairport football when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues. We're at the newly renovated Vision Hyundai in Webster, celebrating the 11th annual Reason for the Season Toy Drive. You bring in a new unwrapped toy, we'll give you an oil change at all 11 Vision Auto dealerships. Be noisy, be silent. Be near, be far. Be joyful, be together. Celebrate joy with Dunkin's holiday-flavored coffees, espressos, and donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Bill Pucko. This is our Dunkin' Donuts Coach's Corner, and we're delighted to be joined by Dan Glover, the Spencerport wrestling coach. Dan, you're coming right off the practice mats here. Does it take you, because they're so intense, does it take you a little time to wind down from your own practice?
It certainly does. There's a lot of things to balance at the end, so you're trying to juggle a lot of things at the same time, and then actually I use the car ride home to kind of mellow down a little bit, because there's just so much intensity in the room and so many things you got to be up for before and after practice.
I don't think there's any question that a wrestler is a different kind of athlete. You mentioned intense. How do you keep the intensity level up to the point that you do and still maintain, the kids' interest in the sport?
Right, you got to walk a fine line between pushing them as far as they can and not pushing them over the edge to walk away. So it's a very difficult sport, certainly, with all the lifestyle pieces. So building a relationship with the kids, getting them to buy into hard work, and showing them the benefits of hard work is a key piece.
Do you lose them occasionally?
As in all sports, we lose them, but certainly in wrestling, there's a closeness, and the kids want to do well for their coach and their teammates.
In a boot camp sort of mentality way, if a kid is left, do you try to get him back, or do you say that was his decision?
You always try to get them back. I never want to give up on a kid. Most of the time, their teammates will coach them up more than me because it means more coming from a kid than it does the coach sometimes.
How do you know a kid is going to be a good wrestler?
There's a little mojo they have to them, a little way they move, an interest maybe more than other kids. But the beauty about wrestling is you can develop much more so than in other sports by embracing hard work and putting in your time. You can certainly develop different than in other sports.
But unquestionably, it takes more out of these kids. Plus the fact when we go to these meets, you're just out there. There's no place to hide.
It is a brutally honest sport. You know exactly who's worked hard, who's put in their time, who's done all the right things, or who's made the bad decisions.
Boy, it's just any question. It's the toughest.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's the toughest because there's so many little pieces that go into it. It requires an all-out effort from the way you eat, the way you exercise, and all the little side pieces that go with it.
Here at Spencerport, wrestling is part of the culture. It's the sport still, I think, at the school. It's what everyone thinks of when they think Spencerport. It's been down the last few years. How do you get it back?
It's an everyday grind, every day, getting the kids to buy into it. We have a great history, but we got to keep that history moving forward, even elevate ourselves from where we've been over the past few years.
When you're not right there, does the history serve as a plus or is it kind of a burden?
It's a double-edged sword. Certainly, it's something to aspire to, but it's also when you come up short, maybe the burn's a little bit worse.
How long were you with Bill Jackto?
So I was Bill's assistant for 3 years. I certainly was a sponge. I soaked up everything I could from Bill in a very short amount of time, and it has really kind of molded me as a coach. I knew Bill when I was a kid. I wrestled for him in the off season, so he's played a really important part in my life. We're friends today. He was a mentor as a kid, and working side by side with him, it certainly helped me to continue helping kids in Spencerport.
Last thing we're in there, you've got pretty good numbers. It seems to me as though the program is still healthy.
We do. We have a very strong core. We're fortunate enough to have 2 middle school phys ed teachers be wrestling coaches as well. So we have a nice infrastructure of wrestling here, and then you piece that together with the clubs that we attend and our relationships with the kids, and it's really coming together quite nice. We're hoping for big things this year and get back those section and state titles.
All righty. Dan Glover, it's been a pleasure having you on the Dunkin' Donuts Coaches Corner.
It's been a pleasure.
Coming up, we salute our Wegmans Making the Grade nominee with Kim Burnson. Later, Fairport football, back where it belongs. And the Vision High School Sports Beat continues. We're at the newly renovated Vision Hyundai in Webster, celebrating the 11th annual Reason for the Season Toy Drive. You bring in a new unwrapped toy, we'll give you an oil change at all 11 Vision Auto dealerships. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Bill Pucko. We are on location this week from Vision Hyundai in Webster, and it is time now for Making the Grade segment, brought to you by Wegmans. Wegmans is a proud sponsor of Making the Grade, which highlights the accomplishments of Section 5 student athletes on and off the playing field. Here's Kim Burnson.
We'd now like to take a look back at some of our Making the Grade honorees from the fall season. East Rochester senior Allison Reynolds was recognized for her participation in the Walk for Autism Speaks. She served as a team captain. She also plays field hockey and basketball for the Bombers. We also met McQuaid senior Charlie Saragusa. Not only is he a standout on the volleyball court, but is also musically inclined. He plays multiple instruments and participates in the jazz ensemble. Mackenzie Peterson is another honoree and is a 4-year starter for Pittsford Mendon's field hockey team. Though she's involved in many after-school clubs, she still finds time to volunteer with the Friends of Strong program in the Pediatric Surgical Suite. Senior soccer standout Max Ogden of Greece Odyssey has logged over 100 hours of community service and remains on the high honor roll with a schedule filled with IB, AP, and college classes. Finally, we honored Delaney LeBeau, a senior at Greece Olympia. Delaney runs track and field and is a 3-time state qualifier for swimming, among other impressive achievements. She was also a 2016 finalist for Greece Athlete of the Year. Thank you to all of our honorees, and be sure to tune in next weekend when we recognize more Making the Grade athletes from the fall season.
If you have a student in mind for our Making the Grade segment, we want your nominations. Send them, please, to info@classywolf.com. And now here's what's coming up on the Fidelis Care Section 5 calendar. Fidelis Care offers quality, affordable health coverage for children and adults of all ages at all stages of life. Quality health coverage. That's our mission. Call 1-888-FIDELIS or visit fideliscare.org. Here's what to watch for the week ahead. Boys basketball features the renewal of that Fairport versus Webster Schrader rivalry. Schrader hosts the early season game. It's Tuesday at 7:15. On the girls' side, that powerhouse Bishop Kearney team and its 8th grade superstar Sanaya Wilson opens their season at Hilton at 7:15. On the ice, look for Brighton East Rochester playing against Pittsford. That game at RIT Saturday at 5:15. Houghton College hosts the first meet of the indoor track season. Sessions on Saturday at 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. That's our Fidelis Care Section 5 calendar for the week ahead. Coming up, leading the way back in Fairport, along with our top individual football player on a roll when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues. Sign Impressions is more than just signs. It's a total graphics company. Embroidery, screen printing, team apparel, t-shirts, jackets, hats, and of course banners and signs. Visit signimpressions.com. Call us at 723-0420 to order your team or corporate apparel. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. This is the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Bill Pucko. We're on location at Vision Hyundai in Webster, and we are taking a look back at the best of the fall season, and we continue next with our honor roll of high school athletes, brought to you by the Injury-Free Coalition for Kids. The Injury-Free Coalition for Kids of Rochester and the Smart Teen Driving Program, funded by the Allstate Foundation, encourages teens to pay attention, not get distracted, and to drive safely. Here's our honor roll of the top 3 high school football players from the 2016 season. At number 3, Cameron Cleveland led East Rochester Gananda to an undefeated regular season, running for 1,700 yards prior to the start of sectionals. Cleveland scored a school record 63 career touchdowns. At number 2, the Bombers lost to Bishop Kearney and Demir Pross in the sectional final. Pross scored 3 touchdowns in that game at 32 for the season, leading the Kings all the way to the state semifinals. And at number 1, Tavon Granison, the do-everything quarterback for the state Class A runners-up from Greece Athena. Granison was forced into the position as a sophomore and never looked back, running for 3 touchdowns and passing for 2 more in the sectional final against Brighton. Now, Sticky Lips Barbecue presents our Athlete of the Week. Is your school looking to raise money? Sticky Lips Barbecue has you covered. Check out our community barbecue fundraisers. Sticky Lips quality is an easy sell. Visit StickyLipsBBQ.com for more details. There were many football players of note this year. Another was Keyshawn Howard, who helped lead the way back for Fairport, where it rightfully belongs. Fairport has a long and storied football past. Over a 26-year stretch under coaches Don Santini and Dave Lanning, the Raiders won 80% of their games, won 11 sectional titles, and a state championship in 1997. A great legacy. Ancient history.
Most of these kids weren't even born, or they were in 1st or 2nd grade back, I'll say, in the highlight of the heyday of Fairport football. So they really don't understand it. You talk about tradition and the great success that they had, and they can't really associate with it because they weren't part of it. So they don't understand that feeling and the atmosphere that was in this town. So I say, guys, we got to create our own and try to get back to that level.
You hear about it so often. I mean, does it ever just get to you like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of hearing how things used to be here?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you hear it all the time whenever people come back to or watch our games, homecoming, and they just talk to you after the game. It used to be amazing, but I mean, it definitely gets to our heads.
Dave Whitcomb is one of the area's most decorated football coaches. He led 3 different programs, Avon, Mid-Lakes, and Geneva, to championships. And he has Fairport back to playing at championship-level form, thanks in part to quarterback Keyshawn Howard.
And it became apparent to me that he was the guy that not only that year, but in the future, was going to be the guy that was going to be able to get it done. That's before, like I said, I even decided at that point to change the offense. And then after the season, when I looked at where we were at, what we were at, not only with our skill kids, but even our frontage guys, they said, this is the best thing to do, is to change this offense because it'll best highlight their skill sets.
We were at Rush Henrietta 2 years ago when Howard made his debut as Fairport's quarterback as a sophomore.
Well, we lost 34-7, and honestly, I think about it all the time. Just a motivating factor.
When you look at your own performance, is it a matter of like, man, if I knew back then what I know now, that kind of thing?
I guess that's what I look back at it now, and I guess that was the whole reason of pulling me up as a sophomore, just to live and learn each year and get better and better. And it's a credit to my teammates, honestly. It's just we're all just growing. So yeah.
Howard's a dual threat in the spread offense, and he led Fairport to wins in their first 5 games of the year. Keyshawn lives in the city and has long commuted to Fairport daily through the urban-suburban program, which united him with Coach Whitcomb.
I think what it is you've got to allow the kid to grow within themselves. They have to be who they are. Everybody, I don't care where you're from, you have an identity. I've worked with rural kids, urban kids, suburban kids, Catholic schools, everybody. And the kids are kids, and you want them to be themselves, but you want them to understand, all right, you can be whatever you want to be if you're willing to pay that price. And he's a kid that's done it.
Look at the totality now of your football career, and how's it fit in with your life?
A grind. I say a grind. Nothing's ever going to come easy. My life hasn't been easy, and I know the game of football definitely isn't easy, to be honest. And that's why I love it.
Fairport wound up 6-1 in the regular season, Monroe County Division I champions and sectional semifinalists. We'd like to thank our sponsors, especially all 11 dealerships of the Vision Automotive Group. They make the Sports Beat possible, as do you. Thanks once again for watching, and we'll see you next week with the Vision High School Sports Beat.